Hi, this is David from Fumastra Management Consulting, and in this video we are going to have a quick look at Power BI and mainly importing data from Power Query. Well, we use Power Query to import data within Power BI, and actually this tool is also available in Excel to access the Power Query editor and import data from Excel. You can use the Data tab and get and transform data group, and within that group you have access to a wide range of connection to sources. So we can connect to a text and CSV file from a web address, from a table or range within your Excel workbook, or we can access more data connection as well. So we have quite a variety of connectors that are existing, as we can see here. And it's exactly the same in Power BI. I'm not so sure. Maybe we have a bit more connectors, I think, in Power BI. I haven't gone into the details of each connector availability within both, but I think the majority of the connectors for data sources are available in Excel, at least the most important one. For databases, Azure services, data lakes, Blob storage, and so on. Online services as well. We can connect to Facebook and different application, web application. And well, the most common one, okay, from an Excel workbook, text, CSV file, XML, JSON, folder, and so on. Quite interestingly, we can connect to a folder from which we can retrieve multiple files at once. So that's quite an interesting feature. And again, we have the same within Power BI. So we can click on more data connection and have a look at the entire list of all the connectors. We have connection to Microsoft resources, but also external third-party resources, as we can see here, Google application as well, GitHub, LinkedIn, and so on. So we can really connect to a wide range of sources. So what I'm going to do here is to connect to a blob storage that I have on the cloud in Azure, and I'm going to choose Azure Blob Storage and connect. And well, I have already copied the URL I wish. So in my clipboard, we can choose this URL, click OK. So that's my blob storage in Azure Data Lake. And now I have access to that CSV file. So I have to, well, I have several options. I can cancel if I'm not okay with what I see, but otherwise I can load directly the data into the data model. And the experience in Excel is exactly the same. We can do also the same thing from Azure. Okay, blob storage. I can also paste the URL I need, and I will have more or less the same interface, okay, in Excel. So if you want to follow along, you can do it with Excel as well. If you have, well, I am using Excel 365, the latest version, the latest updates. If you have Excel 2010 and above, 2010, 2013, 2016, 2019, you should be able to add an add-on. So either you need to download it, or you can just enable it, activate it to use it from that tab, data tab, and get data from the get and transform data group. If you want to have more information about what add-in is available for your version of Excel, I would suggest you search online. You use your favorite search engine to find the right add-in that will correspond to your Excel application, Excel version. So here we have the same environment. Okay, so I'm going to continue from Power BI, but the experience is exactly the same from Excel. So here I have access to one file. So I'm not going to load it directly to the data model because the file wouldn't be helpful by itself. I need to go and transform that data, and it will open Power Query Editor. And from here, I can take several steps to transform my data to whatever I want to obtain. So first of all, it shows me it's a CSV file. Okay, so I cannot do so much. This CSV file is going to contain multiple rows, records, information, columns, well, data stored in columns and rows that I will need to transform and analyze. So it's stored in that binary content, that binary column, right? So I can click, right click that column header and choose to remove other columns, as we don't need the other columns. I just need that one. And then I can choose to expand that column, or as it said, I think combine the data inside. So, or I could have clicked on the binary item as well to extract the content from that CSV file to retrieve all the records that contain the data that I want, as we can see here. Okay, so we have access to a sample file that contain, we can see segment, country, product, discount, and so on and so on. A lot of information, as we said before, stored in columns and rows. So we can click OK on that. We are satisfied with what you have seen. And we can see that in this environment of Power Query, we have on the top a ribbon that contains several tabs. And in each tab, we have access to different tools that we can use to transform, edit, manipulate the data within our Power Query editor to obtain the desired output. On the left side, we have access to the queries list. We have seen, if you had paid attention before at the beginning of the video, we had only one query available. And as I transformed, as I extracted the data available from that CSV file, Power Query automatically created for me a whole bunch of items inside here. So for which right now we don't exactly know what they are. And we might spend a bit more time later in a later video to understand how they are working. So we have parameter, sample file, transform file, which is a function, and then a transform sample file, which corresponds to a table. We can see already that we have several icons representing what type of query we have in those. So that's the icon for parameter, that's for sample file, and that's for function, and that's for table. And they are actually grouped into folders and subfolders. So it's quite useful. We can collapse them and ignore them for now. They are not so much important. And we can click on our query that contains the data that we want to manipulate. So now we don't especially need anymore that queries pane. We can collapse it and use a bit more space in the middle. On the right side, we have access to the query settings, in which we can see we have the name of the query that we can change automatically. So we have our let's say financial sample data. So we can rename our query however we want. We can access also all properties. When clicking on this, we have access to also a description. So we can also describe what this table is about, or what this query is about. We can also activate or deactivate enable load to report. If you have multiple queries that you are importing from a relational database, a SQL database, there might be some tables that you don't want to load in your report. So you might uncheck that text box, or that box to not load that query, that resulting output into your model. Otherwise, you can choose not to include it in the refresh as well. So we have several options available. Let's click OK for that. And then in the other section, we have the applied steps. So that's all the steps that Power Query took when we clicked to import first the file, connect the data source in this one. So we click on this and we are back at the original stage in which we could see the file that we accessed from the Blob storage on Azure. And then we have the different steps that we took. We removed the other columns. That's an automatic step that was created by Power Query automatically. Further on, again, those are automatic steps, that Power Query created. Invoke custom function, removed other columns, whatever, and then, expanded the column that contains all the data that we want, and now we have access to those data. And automatically, Power Query created a data type specific to our to the content of each column. So actually the first step that usually we need to do when we import data inside Power Query and Power BI or Excel, it's to verify the data type that we are using. That's very important because depending on the data type that we have, we will be able to do aggregation, summarization, calculation, create sums, averages, and so on. All right. And actually, okay, I can see that, some columns have the data type text. Some other have number, okay, with the decimal. So that's decimal number data type. But here we can see that Power Query made a mistake actually because it identified this one as a text. When in such a case, it should be more number, right? Currency actually. So we can click on here and choose another data type. And in this case, it would be currency. Currency, where do I have currency? I don't see it. Yeah, it's here. Okay, fixed decimal number. Okay. But as there is the $sign inside, it might be that Power Query is not going to accept that because, there is a non-numeric character inside, which is more like a text, and that's why Power Query identified this data type as text, because it doesn't just contain a number, it contains also other characters that are not numeric character. Okay, so Power Query doesn't like this. So we can go back to the previous step in that case, and we can actually select, with holding down Control key, we can select the different columns for which we want to remove the $sign. We have multiple. So again, holding down Control key from the keyboard, I select with my mouse the different columns from which I want to remove that $sign. And then in the ribbon, I can look for the tool that will help me remove that. So I don't have a specific remove character, but I have replace value that I can use. So with that, I can insert a step between the current step and the last step. And I want to retrieve, okay, the $sign, and I want to replace it with nothing, okay, with an empty, nothing. So I click OK, and it's going to replace it from all those columns it has removed. We can see that we don't see it anymore. And now we can go to that step, and we can see that in this case, our column has been correctly typed as currency data type. So we can apply that step, actually, that data type to all the selected columns that are numbers. And what did I do? Is this one a date really? Did I remove that? Actually, I made a mistake. I should not have selected that. So, okay, let's remove that. Boom. Okay. So we are going to apply the data transformation, the data type transformation to all those columns. So we can go here, data type, and we can choose fixed decimal number, which correspond to a currency data type, and for which we will be able to do the aggregation that we need, a sum that create averages, whatever we want. And actually we could have done the same for this one as well. So we can include the discount. So we can add it in the step here just to make it faster. Up. Discount. Did I make a mistake in spelling it? Discounts. $sign discounts. We can see that it contains a space here. Maybe there is a space at the end. Okay. Let's see, what do we have? Okay, let's copy that. We can go back to our other step and copy what we have. And in this, there is an extra character at the end of the header. Might not be a space, it could be something else anyway. So, we have applied the right data type for those columns, and the date has been correctly recognized as a date. That's very fine. The month number, okay. The year, okay. Okay, quickly, it seems that we are good with that. Okay, it seems that the data type have been recognized correctly. So that's actually something very important. You should have one type of data within each column. So either we can have a look at what we have. either a numeric data type, so we have several types available, then either a date and time, for which we have also different segment of date and time available, then text and Boolean or true or false, logical value or binary, and then we have access to using local as well. We'll have a look at another time what is that. That's pretty good for the first time. We can have a look quickly at the different options that we have in the ribbon. You can spend a bit time to review each one and leave your mouse over it and have a look at what it does. You have a contextual help box that will give you an indication of what each tool is about and what it can do. You can navigate between the different tabs and see that you have access to more options. Add columns and view. So if you don't have the formula bar enabled and you don't see it and you want to see, okay, what formulas, what functions are created automatically by the different steps that have been applied, you can click on formula bar here to activate it or deactivate it. Okay. So if you don't see it like here, you can activate it to reveal what code is created for you in the backend. Okay. When you create the steps. So you have access to a wide range of different tools available in the ribbon to transform your data, keep rows or remove rows, split columns, and change the data type, merge queries, append queries, a lot of things. So now that we are done with that, let's load our data inside our Power BI. So it's going to apply the steps. As it is loading, we can quickly have a look within Excel. We can do the same also. So we do transform data inside Excel. It's going to be pretty much the same experience. It opens Power Query Editor, which is a tool available in Excel. Again, if you don't have it for your Excel version, have a look in your favorite search engine for Power Query add-in for Excel and the version of Excel that you have. So we have access to that file. We can right-click that column, remove other columns, expand this. It's going to create some steps for us automatically, as the other one is loading in the data model. So up, we have access to our file. So, well, the content of our file in that case. We can click OK. And again, in the same as in Power Query for Power BI, we have Power Query created automatically some other step on the right side, but also some other queries. Okay, so at the beginning it might seem a little bit weird, but it doesn't matter. We don't need to understand that so much at the beginning for right now, which I can just collapse them. And again, as we have a very simple query here with only one query imported, we can close that, rename our query like we did before, financial sample data. Okay, I made a mistake. It's not dates, but data, of course, apply. And we can navigate between the different steps that have been created for us to see exactly, okay, what happened. If you are interested, you can review as well what function has been created for you by the Power Query Editor from the different steps that you have created. And we can navigate between them. If we made a mistake, eventually we can also click that small cross here to delete that step. In Power Query, you don't have the undo feature like in Excel or Word, but you have only the capacity to delete steps, okay, and reproduce the steps, okay. So I'm not going to go through the different steps that we took before. Let's go back to Power Query. In that case, we can see that there are 5 errors, so we can view those errors, but I'm not going to view them right now. We have enough data that have been loaded for us to explore. As soon as I have imported the data in our data model, we have listed the table and the different columns that we have available inside Power Query or Power BI in that case, and that would be the same case in Excel. And we can see that some columns have a specific icon like the Sigma icon that informs us that this one is a numeric field and it can be aggregated. We can create summarization from that, so we can create sums and averages and so on. So I can actually very simply click and drag that field in the middle of our canvas of our report area inside Power BI, and automatically Power BI is going to choose a visual that seems to fit best the type of information that we have placed inside the canvas area. Okay, it's not always the right one, but we can easily change them from here, clicking the visual that we want to obtain. Okay, and create whatever we want from that. So let's say now we have the sales and we want to have, well, I think we had product or segment. Let's have a look at segment. I can drag and drop that field within that visualization, and automatically again Power BI will update with the right information, and we can change it. Let's say I want to have a bar instead of a column chart. So actually I should have selected, of course, my chart before, then I can change to what I want. So I can place it here. Okay. And then I think we had countries available. So let's have a look at countries and sales, and transform it as a map. So automatically Power BI created a map for us. Let's have a look at the data type. I think we need to recognize that as a country as well, so we can go into the data the data area where we have all our tables. We can click our column country, and here in the data type we can choose not in this one, sorry, where is it, and categorize category country. Yeah, that's here. Okay, we can choose the in that case it's not the data type, it's the category. We should choose country, and quickly, okay, we have access to also different tools to further manipulate our data within Power BI, create new table tools, columns, we can add columns, and so on. Quite a lot of things that we can do within that area. So now that we have identified this as a country, hopefully it works. So now the icon for that field has changed as well to a little globe. Let's see, to zoom out. And what do we have? Okay. What does it mean? We don't have much sales. Okay, maybe just in one country. Let's have a look to that. If I change to a bar chart, we have Canada, United States, and so on. So it should display. Anyway, I mean, for this first video, we can quickly see that we can display the data very quickly in different formats. And eventually, I could display this one. I can copy and paste a new one, and in this one, I'm going to display averages instead of sum. So I can click on the downward arrow here and change the type of aggregation to average. And eventually, if I want, I can display also the data labels, so I can change the different properties of that visualization. Notice that when I click outside of the canvas area or outside of any visualization, I don't have access to those properties. Those properties are available only when you click on the visual for which you want to change either the type of information that you are aggregating, reviewing, either the properties of that visual. Okay. So very quickly, we have created several visuals that gives us an understanding of what we have in our data set. And of course, this is a very quick overview, and we could drill down a bit further to a different level of information and then refine what we have. The map doesn't display exactly, but it might be okay that countries have not been identified correctly. I'm not so sure what's the problem exactly. We might need to clean the information to obtain the right thing. Anyway, you know, we can do that certainly in other videos and refine, okay, what we have inside here. That's it for now. We have had a quick overview of Power BI and how we could integrate data inside our application. Again, some of those features are available the same in Excel, okay, in which we have imported data. Of course, those visualizations are not available inside Excel. If you want to have Power BI, you can download it for free from the official Microsoft Power BI website, on which you will find all the necessary instructions to install and get started with your application. That's it for now. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.